Now it's time to sample Honda's new entry-level sport bike, the CBR125R. Now you may recall that last season we took you to the press launch of the CBR down in sunny Miami, where not only did Honda roll out this little four-stroke beauty with its fuel-injected, liquid-cooled 2-valve single, but as well Honda introed their new rider strategy. The press launch allowed us to thoroughly run the 6-speed CBR through its gears out on a closed course, and the results were impressive. But leaving Miami, we wondered how this little ripper would do out in the real world. Once back in the land of maple syrup and Dutchies, we rustled up a Canadian spec CBR and enlisted Dave Fox for this week's riding impression.
So Dave, you rolled up to Honda Canada recently and they pushed this out of the warehouse. What was your first impression when you saw it roll out?
I've been reading about them and looking at them in magazines, but when I first saw it I thought, wow, is it ever small? I guess what caught me was, first of all, the looks are great. I mean, it looks like a sport bike, and if you don't know bikes very well, you wouldn't necessarily know what size of bike it is.
Yeah.
The tires were a bit of a giveaway because they're so small looking.
Yeah.
But my first reaction was, wow, is it ever small?
Yeah. You threw a leg over, you fired it up. How did you go from there?
I really enjoyed it. As you know, I've always been riding cruisers all these years, and I've had a bit of an interest in sport bikes lately, and it has a great feeling. You can tuck your knees into this very narrow bike, but the ergonomics are great, just like any other sport bike that Honda makes or other companies make. You're a part of the bike when you're riding it. As I was riding down the highway, it doesn't have the same power, obviously, being only a 125, but it handles amazingly well. And for anyone who's learning to ride a motorcycle, what a great bike to build your confidence on.
Right, right. So let's talk about that engine. It's, I found it very smooth when I rode it down in Miami at the launch. Very smooth motor. Not a ton of power, but still enough to get you on the highway.
Absolutely. I was up around 100 kilometers per hour and felt quite comfortable. I even passed a car and I felt as though it held the road well. It wasn't really tingly to the feel. It's, you know, it's a 6-speed and you're right, the motor is smooth and it rides really well.
So we know that it has enough power to keep a smile on your face. What about the brakes?
Brakes are quite firm, lots of stopping power. Again, you don't have the same weight you would have in some bikes, but lots of stopping power, quite firm.
Yeah. Now, you've gone on several times, even before we started rolling our cameras, about the clutch. You were just blown away by that, right?
I use the expression like a hot knife through butter. It's just so amazing. You can take one finger and just move that clutch in and out so easily. And again, another reason, such a great confidence builder for someone just learning to ride a bike.
Right. And it shifted 6 gears?
Smooth as anything. Didn't miss a shift any time. Has a great transmission, obviously, because you can go through the gears so easily.
Right. So Dave, obviously this is styled to look like other CBR sport bikes in the CBR family, but surprisingly enough, and I'm 6 feet tall, when I got on this motorcycle, I didn't feel like I was in the typical sport bike crouch. It's actually quite roomy.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. Being shorter myself, I could see where there was lots of room between the knees and the handlebars. Very easy to turn, and a person shouldn't be cramped no matter how tall they are. And having said that, sitting on the bike, even though it's small, you have a great look to the dash and the way the speedometer and the tachometer are laid out. So you feel like, yes, you're on a smaller bike, but you still feel as though you're on a professional motorcycle.
Yeah, it's not a toy.
No, it's not a toy.
Now, Honda wants this bike to be an affordable, entry-level introduction to the world of motorcycling, and it's priced accordingly. Does the bike, in your opinion, look cheap? Does it look like something that's been built to a budget?
No, actually it doesn't. When I first saw their advertised price and the fact that they would throw in a jacket and gloves and other things too, I thought, you know, I might be seeing something that looked rather cheap, because I've seen some motorcycles that are not made by the major manufacturers that do look cheap. But this has got a great finish to it. The paint finish, the fairings, everything's finished off. The exhaust pipe, it's good quality. It's a good looking bike. It's something I would be proud to own and not be embarrassed to have parked somewhere to show the quality of it.
And so, given all that, who would you recommend the bike to?
Definitely beginning riders, or someone who can afford to have a second bike and have it for fun. Like, if I was able to do that, I would do that. But I think it's perfect for a beginning rider who may not want a scooter because they may not like the scooter look. But for someone who likes a sport bike look and wants to begin riding motorcycles, a perfect thing to start on. Small, easy to handle, safe, and looks good.
Well, Dave, thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
We dodged a few clouds.
We did.
And still managed to have some fun.
That's great.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you very much.
Now it's time